Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park at our Castrol Victoria Day Speedfest. We're just a few minutes away from rolling with our first race of the morning. This will be the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series. Those drivers should be moving up to the pre-grid area here very, very shortly. They did run a non-championship 30-minute race yesterday afternoon between 5:15 and 5:45 once we were able to get operational here at the racetrack, restoring power via a temporary generator and our public address system up, as we had a thrilling fight in that race where Matt Graham took the win by some 18 seconds over Jonathan Woolridge. Woolridge had led early and was opening up until he ran off the racetrack, dropped back to 6th, but Woolridge, who up to that point had been the fastest of the Radical Cup drivers, was able to come back up through the field to finish in 2nd. Travis Hill in car number 22 finished in 3rd. Lee Chapman in the 81 had a great battle with rookie 42 Kenny Reedman. Chapman holding on for 4th. Reedman rounded out the top 5, and in all we had a total of 10 drivers who did go to the starting line. Some of the drivers who did not run the race yesterday are back with us this morning and should be lining up here for our race that will roll off here 40 minutes very, very shortly, looking at some 15 cars that should go to the starting line. This is a points-paying championship round for the Emzone Radical Cup Canada cars, and of course they'll be back here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park for our big Labor Day weekend. That'll be another doubleheader. And welcome to be working here in the booth with David Bradley, who has certainly been all over this racetrack. Dave, very unfortunate that cell that came through here. And I've been coming here since 1973, and I have never experienced weather anywhere close to what all of us endured here yesterday, but hopefully everyone is okay, and we'll be able to get in all of the races on the schedule, including the NASCAR Pinty Series eBay Motors 200. They elected to go with the times out of practice to set the grid. That should be a great run, some 25 cars a little bit later on. But before that, we've got 3 other races to get in here this morning.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of racing action to come today. And how about all the campers who stuck it out last night, started up the campfire as the wood dried out, and tried to make the best of it. Had a pretty good party here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So a tip of the hat to you for trying to make the best of it after that nasty storm blew through very, very quickly yesterday afternoon and sort of dampened our plans here at the racetrack. And obviously you can still see trees and tent canopies scattered all over the place, but the cleanup will be extensive. But the great aspect of it is the track is not adversely affected, so we will be racing here today as the Emzone Radical Cup Canada cars make their way from their paddock. They're heading up through the pit area and will join us here on the racetrack very shortly to kick things off as the first race of the day. And you mentioned they did have a quick run last night as things sort of got reopened late in the afternoon. A handful of cars joining, so it was a non-points event for the Emzone Radical Cup Canada. But today it is all points, and it is an official race on their schedule here this morning. And if you've never seen these cars go, you're in for a treat here this morning. They look like prototype cars. They're powered by a 1360cc engine, but man, do they poke along very, very quickly, especially down the Andretti straightaway. Potential speeds almost 240 kilometers an hour. That's upwards of 150 miles an hour down the straightaway, powered by a motorcycle engine, so you can understand how quickly they're moving along. But the best part about these cars is the downforce that they produce. So not only are they quick in a straight line, but they're very, very maneuverable through the corners as well, which produces some fantastic racing once you get a big pack of them out on the racetrack all at the same time. So as they make their way from the paddock area onto the front straightaway, you can get a first glimpse, if you're here on the front chute, of these race cars, and they'll line up in their formation.
All of these drivers on the Michelin slick rubber. The last of the cars has just gone through turn number 10 and on the start-finish straightaway, as it'll be the 33 car last to go through here, Doug Allingham, as he did not get an official qualifying time in the session yesterday morning, and he's going to line up what'll be 15th on the grid back in row number 8. But looking at that front row, Jonathan Woolridge, Matt Graham, two drivers who certainly know the racetrack here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, two of our front runners for a number of years in the Toyo Tires F1600 Championship. And looking at their qualifying efforts, it was very, very close, just about a half a second between Woolridge and Graham. And then in that race yesterday, I'm not sure exactly where Jonathan Woolridge had his issue on the racetrack. Running off, went from a commanding lead down into 6th, but then he turned his fastest laps of the race as he charged back through the field, getting around first Kenny Reedman and then Lee Chapman, and then he had quite a little tussle there with Travis Hill, got up into 3rd, and then I believe it was on the last lap, he was finally able to push past Travis Hill to grab 2nd, but Graham was long gone by then, won by over 18 seconds. So 10 cars, we go 15 cars here to get our championship battle underway here in the Radical Cup.
And you can see the cars weaving back and forth on the straightaway as they try to build some heat into these Michelin tires. Those who didn't run in the last race of the day yesterday will be seeing a very, very different track from what they practiced on earlier on yesterday. Of course, the temperature is very different from then to now, so it's a much cooler racing surface. Obviously not a lot of sunshine at this point. We're hoping that Mother Nature gives us a little bit of sun later on this afternoon, but the field lined up 2 by 2. Now the pace car heads for pit lane as the field works its way through turn 10 now, or turn 9, headed for turn number 10. And you can see the 15 cars strong bunching up now into turn number 10. We will see the green flag as we head down the front straightaway. The cars jump on the gas, the green flag waves, and we're underway here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada.
And it is the pole sitter, Jonathan Woolridge, who will grab the early lead. As he comes off at turn 1, it's pretty much single file, although we've got a couple of side-by-side battles going up to the top of turn 2. But it's that orange and black number 77 car of Jonathan Woolridge jumping out in front. I believe we had a change in that 2nd place position. Travis Hill has moved around into the number 2 spot. Then 31, Matt Graham runs 3rd.
Everybody pretty conservative through the first couple corners here. Now headed for turn number 4 for the first time. We are still single file, but look at the battle now for the lead is heating up, as Woolridge has some company right underneath that big tail wing. And they'll move through turn 5 now, 6, and down the Andretti straightaway for the first time. And it looks like Travis Hill is in the tow of it's Tim Sanderson actually in the 07. So Sanderson had a great start in the 07, moving up from a couple rows back, and now he's battling for the lead in turn 8.
That was Sanderson, not Travis Hill. So he has moved up into that number 2 spot, just a couple of car lengths behind the race leader, Woolridge, who will bring them on the start-finish straightaway here to complete this opening lap. Then it is the third place runner, Matt Graham. Travis Hill is running fourth, and Alan Shaw has moved up here nicely into the fifth place spot in car number 99.
Yeah, so we look at some of the names that are on the roster here for the Emzone Radical Cup Canada, and they are names that are familiar to Canadian motorsport fans. Tim Sanderson obviously running second, a veteran of the Porsche GT3 Cup Series for many, many years. Travis Hill ran in the FEL Sports Car Championship Canada Series 1 year ago, running the TCR class and winning the championship in that class. So moving over to the Radicals here in 2022. And there's a good look at the number 22 sitting in fourth position right now. So he's still getting comfortable with a very different race car from the front wheel drive sedan type car that he ran just 1 year ago.
And also a pretty good battle shaping up here for fifth and sixth between Alan Shaw in car number 99 and Lee Chapman in the 81. Chapman finishing fourth in that non-championship race yesterday after a monumental battle with Kenny Reedman in car number 42. Reedman running in seventh. Peter Dyke, 53, is eighth. Jim Hallman, eighth, is ninth. And rounding out the top 10, the 35 of Stephen Chen, as we complete lap number 2 of this Emzone Radical Cup Canada race, scheduled for 40 minutes this morning.
Yeah, so there's still a lot of racing left to go. It's not quite a sprint. It's a little bit of an extended sprint, you can say that, for these drivers. So you don't want to go too hard too soon. The Michelin tires do have a history of holding up very, very well. So the drivers can abuse them a little bit. They back off and then they cool them off and they stick again. So that's the beauty of these Michelin tires that are used here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Series. But good battle a little bit deeper in the field.
That's gone on for 8th and 9th between Peter Dyke, 73, and the number 8 car of Jim Hallman. And things starting to look just a little bit misty out there as the field makes their way up the back straightaway. Jonathan Woolridge owns the fastest lap of the race right now, a minute 24.311. But Dave Bradley, that is about 2 seconds off of where they qualified. So obviously the track conditions not as good as they had here yesterday morning. They worked their way out of the start-finish straightaway down into turn 1. Lap number 3 goes up on the board. It is still the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge leading, 07 Tim Sanderson, 31 Matt Graham third, 22 Travis Hill is fourth, and Alan Shaw, 99, rounds out your top 5.
So there you can see the lead duo. They're not too far away from each other. As a matter of fact, it is less than a second, the gap between Jonathan Woolridge in the orange number 77, Tim Sanderson in the 07. We have a car slowed.
Turn number 1, Jeff Williams overshot turn 1, and that's going to drop him back. He had been running in about the 12th place position, and now I think he may go all the way to the tail end of the field. The rookie driver and a very experienced former motorcycle racing champion who raced here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as recently as a couple of years ago, and it does look as though the rains have arrived here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. It's going to be a little bit treacherous out there on those Michelin slicks.
Yeah, you could see the gap between the top 2 cars start to widen a little bit on the exit of turn 5, and that has put the 07 of Tim Sanderson back into the clutches of the number 31 of Matt Graham, who's closed right up in that battle for second spot. Woolridge able to keep pace just a little bit more, but the gap, the difference, a second from the last time those 2 cars crossed the stripe. So that is an indication of how much the track is changing at this point as we start to see a light mist start to fall. Now you can see the droplets on the camera in turn 2. So I thought it was just towards the turn 5 area, maybe down the backstretch, but it's all over this racetrack as now Travis Hill has caught the 07 of Sanderson. And look at Hill go up on the outside. So Hill has gone from 4th now into 2nd in turn number 4. So in a matter of 2 turns, Travis Hill is up into second spot and setting sights on your race leader, Jonathan Woolridge.
That Shopify sponsored 22 car, you can see getting real twitchy going out of 5B as they head up the back straightaway. How much do you want to test the traction on this deteriorating racetrack as that light mist and sprinkle continues to come down here? Jonathan Woolridge, the race leader, working lap number 5. The last time through, his lead was a little bit less than 2 seconds, but things changing in a hurry, particularly among those front-running 5 cars as they work back down through turn number 10 and on the start-finish straightaway. Lap number 5 completed for the race leader, Travis Hill, in car number 22. In second, then 07 Tim Sanderson up in a third, 31 Matt Graham fourth, 99 Alan Shaw is fifth, 81 Lee Chapman in sixth, Kenny Reedman up in his seventh, the 8th of Jim Hallman is 8th, 35 Stephen Chen in 9th, and 47 Jonathan Labby rounds out your top 10.
So the good aspect of this, and we have a car around this 07 of Sanderson, goes for a lazy spin in turn number 3. He avoids the tire wall, which is great news. And I was going to say, we did get a few laps of green flag dry action, so that builds the heat, and we've got another one going. So it looks like turn 3 is a very, very slick corner at this point as a couple cars go around, no contact with each other, and both of them able to refire and get going once again. But for Tim Sanderson, who is sitting in third spot, he'll now drop to the tail of the running order.
And that is going to shuffle the order as they work up the Andretti straightaway. I think the other driver spinning there in turn number 3 was the 35 car of Stephen Chen, who had been running in 9th. Race leader Jonathan Woolridge through turn number 8. That second place car of Travis Hill continues to close on him, and it's down to about 5 or 6 car lengths as they work back to the stripe. This will be lap number 6 completed. We've got a battle for the lead going to 1.
Travis Hill 2 seconds a lap quicker almost than your race leader in the 77, Jonathan Woolridge. Hill misstep going into turn number 1. He had to go really quite wide, but he gathered it back up and set sail once again in through turn number 2. But you can see just how ginger these drivers are making their way through some of these turns. Remember, they are on full slick Michelin tires, so the traction not necessarily there, but they are trying to make it work as best they can using the downforce of these Radical Cup Canada cars. Big wiggle from Alan Shaw, who's now up into third, and a car goes for a slide in turn number 3. And I believe that was Lee Chapman in the 81 who was sitting in 4th spot. So Chapman loses 1 position to the 31 of Matt Graham, but turn 3 is a very, very tricky turn at this point with that moisture falling.
Jeff Williams, 51, is on pit road. They're looking at the front of that race car. He had dropped to the tail end of the field after that miscue over here in turn number 1. So Jeff Williams on pit road as we pick up the race leader off the end of the Andretti straightaway in through turn 8, headed for the left-hander at 9. And it's still only about a second and a half separating the 2 drivers on the start-finish straightaway. And this time, Travis Hill has closed going up across the stripe. It is half a second, first to second into turn 1. The 77 and the 22 cars down through turn 1. That is your battle for the lead. 99 Alan Shaw up into third. 31 Matt Graham runs 4th. 81 Lee Chapman in 5th. 42 Kenny Reedman is 6th. The 8 of Hallman is 7th, and side by side heading into turn number 3.
I don't think Hill's going to do it in turn number 3. That's been a tricky corner, and he jumps to the outside, so you can see how quickly these 2 drivers have changed their driving lines. Now Hill will diamond it off there side by side into turn number 4. Hill's going to try and maintain that momentum, and he does. New race leader is the 22 of Travis Hill in the Shopify backed entry, so he'll put the Emzone number 77 of Jonathan Woolridge back to second spot for the first time this race, just 11 minutes into this 40-minute timed race, and what action we have at the front.
And of course, the lap times continue to go up. The fastest lap of this race came on lap number 3, Jonathan Woolridge, 1:24.202. But since then, those lap times have gone way up into the minute 39s and minutes 40, and we've got a spin at the Moss hairpin. In fact, the second car off, the number 71 car of Hugh Leahy, he'll get it turned around. Those drivers doing a nice job of keeping it off the wall, and that was the 33 of Doug Allingham, who's turned around in 5B.
And Allingham just waiting for that opening. He was sitting in 8th spot last time they crossed the line, so he will lose significant track time, and looks like he either can't get it refired or can't get it back into gear, because he is sitting stopped on the racetrack on the exit of turn number 5, so just on the entrance to the Andretti straightaway, and he's facing the opposite direction. We are still green, so no full course caution at this point, just a local caution for the spun number 33 of Doug Allingham. But again, he's going through the protocols of trying to restart that car. You can see the headlights going off and then going back on as he tries to find fire in that 1360cc engine. And the leaders are going to come through. He is still there. Travis Hill still out in front with Jonathan Woolridge about a half second back. Now the 33 has refired. He just has to get it righted and headed in the right direction. And it looks like he will be able to do so. So we'll avoid a full course caution. Unfortunately, for the 33 of Doug Allingham, he drops well down the running orders. Now a lap down to your race leaders.
Well, that is going to really shuffle the running order here as they head up the Andretti straightaway on lap number 9. Travis Hill, 22, just ahead of 77. Jonathan Woolridge as they run down into turn number 8. 99, Alan Shaw is there in 3rd, and then we've got a problem. Hugh Leahy, who had been in 11, looks like he gathers it back up as they work up across the line here. It will be lap number 10 completed as we come up on the 14-minute mark.
And a great battle on track is for 3rd spot. Alan Shaw holding off Matt Graham. About a half second in between those two cars, as well as the battle at the front is heating up. Now under half a second, about 3/10 between your race leader, Travis Hill, in the Shopify number 22 and the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge. Woolridge was out in front. Travis Hill came back as the rain started to get a little bit heavier, and then now Woolridge has sort of settled into a rhythm, into a pace. He's found the traction limits of those Michelin slick tires, and he's been able to keep pace at the very least with the 22 of Travis Hill, and it looks like he may have a challenge for him going into turn number 8.
Well, they work up the Andretti back straightaway, just about 0.4 of a second separating that black, green, and white 22 car of Travis Hill and 77 Jonathan Woolridge. Then we've got a big gap of about 10 seconds back to the battle for 3rd involving 99 Alan Shaw, 31 Matt Graham, and the 81 of Lee Chapman is right there. So that is a 3-way fight for the final podium spot as the lead pair out of turn 10. They're on the start-finish straightaway coming to the line. This will be a lap number 10 going up on the board, and again it's just 0.4 of a second separating the 22 of Travis Hill and the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge.
Boy, Woolridge really can taste the blood in the water as he's staring at the back end of the race leader, the 22 of Travis Hill. But off of turn number 10, he tried to squeeze the loud pedal just a little bit too hard, and the back end almost went around on him. He gathered it back up and maintains pace, but boy, he's trying to push as hard as he can, trying to get the maximum out of these tires and the traction as the battle for 3rd spot continues on here between Alan Shaw, Matt Graham, and Lee Chapman. Remember, Lee Chapman had a bit of a moment earlier on. He's managed to gather it back up and carry on and close the gap back up to 3rd and 4th. Shaw currently in 3rd. Graham is in 4th position, and Graham goes off in turn number 5, just as we were talking about it. Hard on the brakes, and the back end goes around. Graham avoids the tire wall, grabs the gear, and carries on.
And that is going to put Matt Graham, I believe, in a 5th. We're also watching a monumental battle for 6th involving 4 cars. Kenny Reedman in the 42, who is in 6th, but right behind him on the racetrack, the number 8 of Jim Hallman, 47 Jonathan Labby, and 73 Peter Dyke. That is a 4-way fight for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. As we're about to complete lap number 11, Travis Hill goes through, followed by Jonathan Woolridge. That time, the gap was 0.894 of a second.
Yeah, so the difference in lap times between the top 2 cars, very, very slight. It's 2/10, 3/10, one way or the other. So Hill will be quicker one lap, and then Woolridge will be quicker the next. So they have maintained that gap, 0.8 of a second. Between 5 and 0.8 of a second is where it's been for the last several laps. But Woolridge looking for an advantage now through turn number 3, as Hill had a pretty big wiggle under acceleration off of turn number 3 as they head to turn 4. Will he be close enough to make a move into 5? He won't be. Their gap is just too great at this moment.
That quartet of cars that have been fighting it out for 6th have shuffled the order. The 8 of Jim Hallman has moved up into 6th. 47 Jonathan Labby 7th, 73 Peter Dyke in 8th, and Kenny Reedman, who had been running in 6th, the rookie driver, pushed all the way down into 9th. 35 Stephen Chen still rounds out your top 10, and the 99 car goes around coming out of 5B. Alan Shaw, that's going to cost him 3rd.
That was a full 360-degree spin. He heads back the same direction where he started, but a big moment for your 3rd place runner, Alan Shaw, who is no longer in 3rd as a couple cars get by as he was trying to refire and grab a gear. But the battle at the front is very, very tight. Just flashed by our announce booth location. And Jonathan Woolridge is right on the back end of the 22 of Travis Hill as they work into turn number 1. You can see Hill taking a little bit wider line, and that's what you do when the track gets wet. These are 2 very experienced road race drivers, have driven in all kinds of conditions. When the track gets wet, you do not maintain the regular racing line. That's where all the rubber is built up. That's where it's the most slick. So you tend to go out just a little bit further, despite the fact you don't have rain tires on, as we've got a car around Stephen Chen in the 35.
That's over in 5 number B. So these drivers right on the ragged edge of traction here as that light mist continues to fall into Moss Corner hairpin. The 22 of Travis Hill, 77 Jonathan Woolridge. That is the story up front. The last time across the stripe, they were separated by just 0.3 of a second. Lee Chapman, 81, your new 3rd place runner after Alan Shaw spun coming out of the Moss hairpin. 31, Matt Graham, I believe, still holding on to 4th. Then Shaw in 5th. 47, Labby in 6th. Peter Dyke, 73 and 7th. Kenny Reedman, 42, up into 8th. The 8 of Jim Hallman is 9th, and then 71, Hugh Leahy rounds out your top 10.
Of all the moments that Hugh Leahy has had in turn number 5, continues in the top 10. He's gained 5 positions from the start of this race, so having a quietly solid running order position at this point, despite the fact that he's had a couple issues in turn number 5 over the course of this race. But there you can see again that battle, and it seems to be the track is better in some locations than it is in others. We talked about how dicey it was in turn number 3, and it continues to be. You can see droplets on our camera positions in several locations, but the drivers really seem to be attacking turn number 1 and then really backing off in turn 2 and turn 3.
Going on for 3rd between 81 Lee Chapman and 31 Matt Graham has really tightened up. So we're going to have a fight here for that 3rd place spot. Alan Shaw, 99 in 5th. Jonathan Labby, car 47, goes through in 6th. Kenny Reedman moves up into 7th after dropping back into 8th. and up through turn 5C. Things have really close to within just the car length separating 22 Travis Hill and Jonathan Woolridge, as here comes Woolridge trying to draft past the 22 car. They are side by side through turn number 7, and Jonathan Woolridge will take the lead going into the top of the S's in that orange 77 car as he runs a little bit wide. Looked like he had a moment, does a nice job of gathering it back up, and he will lead them through turn 9.
For Travis Hill, he caught the lap car of Stephen Chen at just the wrong moment, had to check up, and that cost him his lead and eventually cost him top spot, so he'll have to tuck his head and try to gain back on Jonathan Woolridge, because Woolridge took full advantage down the Andretti straightaway and powered around the 22, got there before turn number 8. But you're right, Pat, it looked like the 77, he went just a little bit to the outside, might have caught a bump, and now Woolridge goes for a big slide in turn number 2. He gathers it back up and maintains the lead, but the gap closes back to the 22 of Travis Hill, and now Hill hard under the brakes in turn number 3 as he tries to get so much closer. Again, we're at the halfway mark of this 40-minute timed race, and what a race it's been.
Well, this one is official, just past the halfway point by about 2.5 minutes, working lap number 15, and the complexion of this race continues to twist and turn. The leaders are coming out of the Moss hairpin, and that 77 car of Jonathan Woolridge had a lap at 1:36, one of the fastest we've seen since that light sprinkle arrived a number of laps ago. Also 31, Matt Graham is back up into third, getting around the 81 of Lee Chapman, who is fourth. 99, Alan Shaw is fifth. 47, Jonathan Labby runs sixth. Seventh is 42, Kenny Reedman. Eighth is car 8, Jim Holman. Ninth is 73, Peter Dyke. And 71, Hugh Leahy still rounds out your top 10. 35, Stephen Chen in 11. Doug Allingham runs in 12.
Give you an idea of how quick the top 2 cars are going. Jonathan Woolridge and Travis Hills in the 1:39 range. Matt Graham, his last lap is well over 1:41. So that just gives you an idea how much quicker the 77 and the 22 are attacking this damp racetrack. I don't want to call it full wet because you don't see the spray coming off the wheels. There's no puddles, there's no standing water anywhere, but it is a very, very tricky Canadian Tire Motorsport Park circuit for these drivers. They are being tested at each and every turn, but Matt Graham now up into third, and the 81 of Lee Chapman is starting to close just a little bit in a battle for third.
Well, that last lap, Graham had a lap at 1:41 and change. Chapman was 1:42, so he has lost some ground to the 31 of Matt Graham, coming off that non-championship win yesterday afternoon in the 30-minute Emzone Radical Cup Canada race. But you get the feeling that that battle for the final podium spot is not over as they work down the short chute coming into turn number 4. We are working lap number 16 of this scheduled 40-minute Emzone Radical Cup Canada run. Jonathan Woolridge, car 77, continues to lead by just a little bit over a second on 22 Travis Hill.
Good look at your fifth place runner, the 99 of Alan Shaw. Again, he had a spin not too long ago. Nearly every driver has had a moment or two during this race. Very tricky conditions here in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada event as part of the Castrol Victoria Day Speedfest here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. And you can see Jonathan Labbe in the number 47 he can see the 99. I don't want to say he's close. He can see the 99, and that's the carrot that he needs to drive just a little bit deeper and push just a little bit harder in the 47 to try and gain some ground or take advantage of any mistakes that the number 99 of Alan Shaw may make, because there still is a lot of laps left to be completed, a lot of time left on the clock, which is important. You don't want to push too hard and you make a mistake and then you lose all that valuable real estate that you've been able to gather up.
That is a good little fight for 5th and 6th between 99 Alan Shaw and 47 Jonathan Labby. 42 Kenny Reedman goes through in 7th. Jim Hallman 8, not that far behind in the 8th place spot. Then Peter Dyke 73 9th, and the 71 of Hugh Leahy rounds out your top 10. At the front, Jonathan Woolridge continues to open up that gap just a little bit on 22 Travis Hill. And that fight we're looking at right now is 7th and 8th. That might be the best battle on the racetrack at the moment. Here comes Jim Hallman in car number 8. He's all over Kenny Reedman for that 7th place position.
Yeah, and this was once a 4-car battle with Kenny Reedman, Jim Hallman, and Peter Dyke, the A73 car, but Dyke did have a bit of a moment a little bit earlier, and he's now 14 seconds further adrift from that battle between Reedman and Jim Hallman.
Just want to include where all of the drivers are running here. We gave you Stephen Chen 35 in 10th. Hugh Leahy is running in 11th now, so he's dropped back a spot. 33 Doug Allingham in 12th. 07 Tim Sanderson is in 13th. 14th is Kelly Smith on pit road, and then 15th is Jeff Williams in car number 51 as we look at the race leader out of 5C. And it does look as though Travis Hill may have inched a little bit closer on that lap. They work up at the Andretti straightaway, maybe about a dozen or so car lengths separating the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge and 22 of Travis Hill. Here comes the front pair in through the S's on what will be lap number 18 in the books the next time they work across the start-finish line by the Michelin Bridge. And Travis Hill certainly not giving up. And as we get to the point here where we've got just a little over 11 minutes to go, then I think, Dave Bradley, you'll see these drivers just push the limit a little bit more, trying to find the spot on the racetrack that'll give them the most traction.
Yeah, they know at this point which areas the cars perform better than others, so where they can push and where they really have to finesse their way through the turns. But you're right, Travis Hill is coming. 2 laps ago, the difference between first and second place was 2.1 seconds. Now it is down to 1.4 seconds. So Travis Hill in the 22 is really starting to come. So he got the memo that time is starting to run out. We're just over 10 minutes left in this Radical Cup Canada main event, and so you need to start to push now if you want to make that move for the race lead.
And that 3-way fight coming to the line. Alan Shaw in car number 99 right there with Jonathan Labby, and then 42 Kenny Reedman. Kenny still holding on to that 7th place position, but he's a good distance back from that pair. In fact, he still has Jim Hallman right there with him as those 2 drivers go at it for 7th and 8th. Peter Dyke 73 still in 9th, and Stephen Chen 35 is your 10th place runner.
And we talked about the 22 of Travis Hill starting to inch closer. It looks like that lap Jonathan Woolridge was the driver who's going to put in the quicker lap as they cross the start-finish line, and that's exactly it. So the difference now 1.8 seconds, so almost 0.4 of a second the difference. And Woolridge has a big moment. He's off in the grass on the exit of turn 1. He avoids the wall, but Hill will come through and take top spot on the outside of turn number 2. What a move by Hill to avoid the 77 and make his way past new race leader, the 22 of Travis Hill.
Almost what happened here yesterday in that non-championship race where Woolridge had the lead, made the error and dropped all the way into 6th. This time just goes back into 2nd. So the final 9 minutes or so of this race, as we've got I believe a car, yes, spinning coming onto the start-finish straightaway. Wave caution flags here in turn number 10. We'll try to get a number on that driver who's spun here coming out of turn number 10. So caution flag, and now the battle for the lead up the back straightaway. Jonathan Woolridge is closing on Travis Hill.
Woolridge really caught Hill on the exit of turn 5, hard on the gas, and you can see the back end start to twitch. He takes a look into turn number 8. There's no room there to make a spot, so Hill will maintain his top spot in through turn 8. Turn 9's a good opportunity to make a move. Turn 10, there's a waved yellow flag, so no passing opportunity there for the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge. But after that mistake, what a move by Woolridge to stay off the concrete wall. And there you can see the car is right on the exit of turn number 10, and it is in the racing line. Still no full course caution, just a local caution at this point. And it's the 71 of Hugh Leahy. Now he manages to get it refired. At least he's off the racetrack at this point in the grass, but struggling to get moving. And now he will find a gear and get moving. So it looks like we're going to avoid a full course caution, which is great news.
And Hugh Leahy had been running in 11th until looping that car around, coming off at turn number 10 as the lead pair head to turn 4. It's just a few car lengths, officially 0.625 of a second. The last time across the start-finish stripe here to complete lap number 20. Matt Graham will go through in third. He is 43 seconds back of this front-running pair, then 81. Lee Chapman in fourth. Alan Shaw in car number 99. Try to hang on here for that fifth, and we got a problem in 5C.
That's your race leader. The 22 of Travis Hill is stopped on the back straightaway. Now he manages to refire, but a spin, and you can see the track does look very much wet. Wetter than it is anywhere. Yeah, you can see the spray, and actually there's some tire smoke coming from the 22, so Travis Hill has made some contact with something on the exit of turn 5, and that cost him the lead, and it might end up costing him the rest of his race. Jonathan Woolridge back in top spot in the 77.
Well, Woolridge has got a tremendous lead. Here is 22, Travis Hill, the second place runner at the moment, just coasting through turn number 8. We'll see whether or not he stays out on the racetrack or brings that car onto pit road, and he'll come onto pit road. So this is really going to shuffle things up as Matt Graham's going to go to second. Lee Chapman should take over third.
A significant tire rub at the very least on the 22 of Travis Hill. You never know what kind of damage has been done underneath as far as suspension goes. So Travis Hill erring on the side of caution, and it looks like he is unbuckling and he's going to get out. What a race he was having, though, with Jonathan Woolridge at the front of the field, was leading when that issue happened on the exit of turn number 5. A shake of the head as he jumps out and takes a look. He knows what kind of car he had, what good car he had in that number 22. And believe it or not, they give you an idea how big of a lead they had built up. He's still in fourth as the rest of the field comes filtering through. Matt Graham is now running in second position, although, Pat, you mentioned it, 45 seconds the difference between your race leader and your new second place driver, the 31 of Matt Graham.
And that final podium spot right now belongs to 81 Lee Chapman, ahead of 99 Alan Shaw, who has moved to fourth. 47 Jonathan Labby in fifth. Very shortly here now, Kenny Reedman will go through. There he is, lap number 21, goes up on the board. Kenny Reedman up into sixth. Seventh will be 73, Peter Dyke. Jim Hallman is going to take over that 8th place position. Stephen Chen, 35, will take over 9th. As we've got less than 5 minutes to go, working lap number 23 in our Emzone Radical Cup Canada championship run here this morning, and all by himself, Jonathan Woolridge. I'm sure he's going to put it on cruise control. Doesn't have to turn those faster laps he was turning earlier, but before things started to deteriorate here with the light rain, he had that minute 24.202, and his last lap was a minute 44. So some 20 seconds a lap slower. in the wet. The 81 of Lee Chapman comes to the line. His 22nd lap goes up on the board, well clear of the fourth place runner, 99 Alan Shaw. So unless something dramatically happens, the three drivers going to the victory podium here will be Jonathan Woolridge, 77, 31 Matt Graham, and the 81 of Lee Chapman.
And you can actually see the difference in track conditions from one end to the other. So in turn number one, it almost looks dry. So the rain really hasn't affected it too much. Turn number 5 is where we're starting to see the spray kicked up from the tires. So that's the area that the 22 of Travis Hill was caught out, and that's where the other drivers have to be very, very careful. But it's interesting, once you come off turn 10, you set sail for turn number 1, you're almost looking at a relatively dry track at that point. And the drivers are taking their normal racing line through turn number 1 for the most part. Jonathan Woolridge obviously doesn't have to push, so he's going to be a little extra cautious through there because of the lead that he's been able to build up. Again, a 1:45 that last lap by. To give you an idea, Matt Graham, on the other hand, in the 31 is pushing just a little bit harder. He was 3 seconds a lap quicker than your race leader in second spot. So the 31 is still on attack mode in second spot. He's got a huge gap to make up to try and gain ground with only a few short minutes left to be completed here in this race.
That 22 car of Travis Hill, because the drivers who are still out on the racetrack are a number of laps back. Travis Hill still being shown in 10th. Doug Allingham going through here in 11th, but I think very shortly Doug Allingham is going to take over that 10th place position as the race leader, Jonathan Woolridge, works his way up the back straightaway, and very shortly now he is going to be lapping the car in 7th. That is Kenny Reedman, as Woolridge closes up under the Canadian Tire Bridge and into turn number 8. So very shortly we're only going to have 6 cars running on the lead lap with less than 2 minutes to go.
Such tricky conditions for these drivers. We started on a full dry circuit, got a couple of laps in, and then the mist started to fall. It started to get a little bit heavier in turn number 5 and other areas, and really caught out some of these drivers as the white flag waves. One more lap for your race leader, Jonathan Woolridge, who was fastest in qualifying, and for the most part yesterday in the non-points event was looking like he was going to win that race. Unfortunately, one small mistake cost him top spot. He battled back, finished second, but Jonathan Woolridge has been nearly untouchable here today. Great dice with Travis Hill through the middle portion of this race. Travis Hill led some laps, and then Jonathan Woolridge capitalized and took over top spot once again. And again has built up a over 40-second lead on your second place driver. Again, Matt Graham continues to chip away, a 1:44, so better than a second quicker than your race leader. Gives you an idea of just how much the 77 of Jonathan Woolridge is on cruise control at this particular moment.
Well, he's got that big cushion to work with. It had been 45 seconds up on Graham. Now it's down to 40. But with less than a lap to go, Jonathan Woolridge working his way up the Andretti straightaway for the final time. Matt Graham in second, Lee Chapman third, and Doug Allingham has now moved up into that 10th place spot. Travis Hill being shown 11th, and 07 Tim Sanderson in 12th. As the race leader, 77, Jonathan Woolridge, finishing second yesterday in that race that was a non-championship run. Checkered flag out at the line. Here is Jonathan Woolridge. He will hit the stripe to take the win in this Emzone Radical Cup Canada Championship run here this morning. Matt Graham will finish second. Lee Chapman will be third.
He pats his car as he goes close to the pit wall, a tip of his hat to his crew, and Jonathan Woolridge had a great run here today. He had his hands full at nearly every turn, and managed to keep it off the wall during one hair-raising moment, but coming through for second place will be the 31 of Matt Graham. Doug Allingham is a lap down. He'll slide by on the inside, but Graham knows that's not a battle for position, so he eases his way across the start-finish line, 37 seconds back from your race leader. And third place goes to the 81 of Lee Chapman.
Well, Woolridge, I think that was his slowest lap of the race on that final tour of the racetrack. 1 minute 48.193 compared to his earlier minute 24.202. So Woolridge, Graham, and Chapman, your podium three. And then late in that race, 47, Jonathan Labby did get around Alan Shaw in car number 99 for fourth. Shaw will finish in fifth. Peter Dyke, 73, up for sixth. Kenny Reedman will finish in seventh. And it does look as though we had just the top five finish here. No, Peter Dyke goes through in sixth. Kenny Reedman, 42, up for seventh. And then Jim Holman in car number 8 will finish in 8. So let's correct that. The top 7 cars ended up finishing on the lead lap. The last of those, Kenny Reedman, who was just ahead of Woolridge, but looked as though Woolridge would put him a lap down. But when Woolridge just backed it off in the last couple of laps to bring it home to the checkered flag and the win. Jim Holman in car number 8 is 8th. 35, Stephen Chen finishes 9th. And rounding out your top 10, the 33 of Doug Allingham.
They're fun cars in the drive, but they also put on a great show. And there you see Travis Hill. A big congratulations to Jonathan Woolridge on pit lane. Woolridge stopping right at the pit of Travis Hill. Hill came out to greet him, and gives you an idea of the sportsmanship here too in the Emzone Radical Cup Canada, as well as Hill and Woolridge had that great battle through the middle portion of this race, and it looked like it was going to go right to the checkered flag. Unfortunately for Hill, had an incident in turn number 5 and suffered some damage to his Shopify number 22, so Hill will finish outside the top 10 as the rest of the field comes through to find pit lane. But an exciting start to the Sunday here as part of Castrol Victoria Day Speedfest at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, as Jonathan Woolridge will make his way down into victory lane. And we'll get a chat as well. Coming up next will be the Super Production Challenge, their third race of the weekend, I believe. Actually, no, their second race. They didn't have a second race yesterday afternoon after that big storm blew through. So it will be their second race of the weekend. They'll be next on track. And what makes this series interesting is that they have a standing start on the front straightaway, which makes it doubly exciting into turn number 1.
Drivers making their way back on around. So Jonathan Woolridge, after finishing in second yesterday in that non-championship 30-minute run, comes back here. But Dave Bradley, that was a wild and woolly race. We didn't know who was going to win, who was going to pick up the other podium spots, because it continued to change throughout the race as these drivers just really were struggling at times trying to find the traction out there. But full credit to all of these drivers for bracing some very challenging conditions, running here on a damp racetrack on those Michelin slick tires. And we look forward to seeing the series back here. They're going to run with Bark in July. Believe that'll be one of their rounds. And then, of course, they'll be back here for the big Labor Day weekend sprints. 2 races scheduled on that weekend of 40 minutes. And I'm sure by the time we get back here, we could be looking at a couple of races that'll decide the Emzone Radical Cup Canada Championship.
Yeah, it's always exciting, the radical cars, when they're on the track, especially here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, whether it's wet or dry. And today just gave you an idea of the level of talent in that field, as well as the drivers had to hang on to some very tricky race cars under very tricky racing conditions. And a tip of the hat to Jonathan Woolridge, who takes the win by a country mile over the A31 of Matt Graham and the 81 of Lee Chapman. As you mentioned, your podium finishers here today. But at the beginning of this race, it looked like it might stay dry for the drivers, and they were probably excited to have a dry event. And unfortunately for them, that changed fairly quickly. In certain areas of the track, it was interesting to see where the rain would hit and where it didn't. Turn number 3 was tricky in the beginning, and then turn number 5 caught a bunch of drivers out. But you mentioned it, Pat, that a lot of these drivers had to do quick steering, some quick pedal work to keep the cars off the wall and keep them from getting damaged, even when they did get involved in a quick spin.
Production Challenge 30-minute race is next up on the schedule. That's set to roll off here at 10:30 this morning. Of course, we remind you that in the CTMP marketplace, lots going on there today, including, I believe we still have the Canadian Tire Fun Zone, the Jumping Castles, I believe, operating today, and also eBay Motors with their display. Paco Tacos is there, along with Heavenly Dreams Ice Cream, Loaded Pierogi, as well as they are still giving away another one of those Simonized pressure washers, along with a $100 Canadian Tire gift certificate. You're invited to head by their booth and put in an official ballot. They'll be doing that draw a little bit later on. And then a reminder that also coming up this morning will be that autograph session with Larry Jackson, the eBay Motors booth. He had the first of those yesterday, and he'll be conducting the second of those autograph sessions coming up this morning at, I believe, 10:30 is when that'll be getting rolling. Of course, looking ahead to the rest of the 2022 calendar here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, the Varac Vintage Grand Prix coming up on Father's Day weekend. That is June 17, 18, 19. Perfect time to visit the track here with your dad and family. The weekend features various beautiful vintage cars racing here. And as well, the MG Club, they'll be here on the Sunday with a special MG race. That is our next big weekend, the Varac Vintage Grand Prix, Father's Day weekend, June 17, 18, and 19. And then in July, IMSA returns to Canada after a 2-year hiatus, the Chevrolet Grand Prix, July 1, 2, 3, with the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, Michelin Pilot, and IMSA Prototype Challenge, as well as the Masters Formula One and Masters Endurance Legends. That'll be an incredible weekend here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, July 1, 2, 3. And then in August, we've got the CSBK Superbike doubleheader weekend. I believe that's actually going to be a triple header, 3 major superbike races on the weekend. That's scheduled for August 12 to 14. And then many of these same series, including the NASCAR Pinty Series, will be here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Labor Day Sprints, September 2, 3, 4. We'll have the Emzone Radical Cup Canada cars back along with the Sports Car Championship Canada cars. Nissan Sentra Cup will be here for their 5th round of the series, races 9 and 10 of the championship. And added to the bill will be the Toyo Tires F1600 Championship. That series will be here on Labor Day weekend as well. You can check the CTMP website.